Greetings, Pilgrims, and welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage. And today we begin part one of a two-part series on how to create these multi-rockets. Now, as you can see here, I have three different rockets here, and they've got some variation in their body types versus their fins versus their cones. So the idea here was to create a rocket that we could modify procedurally sort of in the editor here. And what we do here is we have multiple pieces to each rocket, and using a script that we'll write together, we are going to make the rocket variable. Now, the rocket comes with three different cones, three different bodies, two different mid fins, and three different rear fin sections, which gives us a total possible combination of 54 different rockets. So yes, you can create all of these different types of rockets using just the variable preset from the first one. So if I choose the first one here and take a look at it, you'll see here's the script applied, and here's what happens with our rocket. So I can choose a cone type, and I can change from three different types there. My favorite, of course, is the warhead. And then we have the three different body types, which if you look carefully, mostly changes where we have these rivets applied and where we don't. And then the small fins, there's a lateral design, northwest, east, west, if you will, north, south, east, west, pardon me. And then we have fin A type, which is more of an angular design. And then for the rear fins, we have A, B is just the four, and then C, we've got a lot of fins on the C variant. So a couple different variations there, and you can come up with 54 different rockets using just these combinations. So this is how it works. So let's go ahead and jump over into looking at how we have to plan out the rocket pieces and make sure they all snap together. And then in part two, we'll actually be writing the code here and assigning everything together. All right, so I'll see you in a second. All right, so here we are inside of Max, and I wanted to show you how I created the rockets. Now, this will not be a step-by-step, but more of the process to go through in order to generate your own rockets. And of course, the rockets that we have here for the tutorial will be available as well for you to examine. So here we have the low poly and the high poly, and really all the high poly is as far as difference is just some smoothing. We have the rivets, which get smooth. We have this extra panel in here, which is just a panel to show off, where you would open it up to work on the rocket. And then we have some extra detail in the back for the kind of engine compartment, if you will. So really that's all it is, just two versions here, but we've carefully planned out additional pieces here that get broken off at certain points. So going back to the beginning of the rocket, first things first, I created a cylinder. Did a little bit of research online and found out the approximate size of a rocket. So then I made this cylinder to be the overall size in general of the core. And then this cylinder here is just to work out the overall radius of the highest reaching fins. From there, it's a simple process of adding edges, cutting and moving and extruding like we do. And I created this kind of core shape. I wanted the core body here with the engine compartment in the back, and then the first cone section. Now, to create the fins, always work smarter, not harder. So what I did here was I made a duplicate of the geometry from the center of one of these, and then using that duplicate, I cut some lines into it, and I generated one fin. Now, by duplicating from the center of this, it kept that center pivot. As you can see, the pivot is here below. And moving over here, I take that same pivot and I make rotational copies around the axis by exactly certain degrees. I believe this one turned out to be 72 degrees to get the 5 count. And if you tell it 5 or 4 more copies in there, it'll generate all of these. And then by combining those and cleaning them up, eventually what I ended up keeping was just the actual fins, like so. But this allows me to keep the fins and put them over top of the body here seamlessly. And then we get over here to some individual fins for the various height shapes. I took the same fin and just reduced it to make the smaller one. Just kind of scaled it down, cleaned it up a little bit for proportional reasons. And then I created two additional cone types. And what I did here was I just made a copy of the model and then deleted everything except the cone. And now I have a cone here that is like a stubbed cone, and then this cone is what became the warhead cone shape that I like so much. Okay, so now let's take a look over here. These are all the pieces of the current iteration of the missile or the multi-rocket. So we have here, as you can see, body A, body B, and body C. Now these are all identical structurally, but the way they differ is in the unwrap. So if I select all three of these, and I go to my unwrap tools, pardon me, it's off the screen, I'll bring it over for you, there we are. So here is the unwrap for just those, and you'll notice that they both share some texture space and they have unique texture space. So the part that they share is here, you can see it's been offset. That is for the engine. The engine is the same on every single rocket. And then the unique parts are in the middle here. And the reason that the unique parts are in the middle, this is for the core of the body. And the core of the body is what allows us to have the differences in the rivets that are along the sides of it. And that way we can have some differences there. Okay, so I'm going to delete that modifier. All right, so as we've discussed, the core of the idea here is that we have the same shape that has been kind of modified a few times, and all of these share space on the unwrap sheet, and that way we can use one texture to paint three different variants of our rocket. So essentially what we're taking is one shape and we're moving the UVs into a different shape, and then combining all these on the texture sheet, we now have multiple variants. And all of these fins here, they share the exact same texture space, and then they're all offset, of course. But that means that now you can have the difference being how many fins, the placement of them, the angle of them. You can have such variety, but using one texture to maintain everything. So it's a pretty simple setup once you kind of understand how it works. And again, I will provide the model so you guys can look at it. And in next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the code, and we're going to write the code together about how to take this and bring it into Unity and get everything all set up. So as always, guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.